Welcome, campers, to another episode of the Campfire Gaming Podcast. Today's episode is a special one. It's a book club. Interestingly enough, this is, I think, the first book club where it's actually a book, but a game of a book of a game. Hold on tight. There are spoilers ahead. As we enter the dark subway system of Russia in Metro 2033.
That's what we're playing? I thought we were
It's only
playing
12 years
Half-Life.
away.
Yeah, Half-Life or something else. Like Journey. Is that the next one? Are we talking about Journey the next one?
Journey is the next one.
Spoiler.
Yeah,
Spoiler,
he
we
did
always-
warn us though that there
we
were
always-
going to be spoilers.
In the beginning. Did you
It's
want me to
true.
repeat that part when I was like, no, hold on. Spoilers are ahead. That was probably a better take than the first one, but we'll go with it. Dudettes, welcome to the next episode of the Campfire Gaming Podcast. My name is Mike. I'm the host tonight. With me, as usual, the Gentle Feathers, Matt, Rich, and Chris. Dudes, what's going on?
How you doing, Mike?
Pretty great. How about yourself?
Oh, doing fantastic. I'm ready to talk about Metro.
Another
Ooh.
toasty night.
Is it toasty? I am seriously I like the cold, but there's like one giant vent right here that just pisses air conditioning. So the whole rest of the house is nice and like 68, but it's like 40 right here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a kind of muggy out.
That
Kinda
too.
gross, yeah.
Probably
the-
feels like nuclear war happened, but not the
Mhm.
nuclear winter part.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're in my basement.
Unless you're in
Yes.
Mike's basement, yeah.
So today we're going to talk about Metro 2033, the Redux. This is Chris's pick for the month. So we're going to let Chris kind of give us a little bit of an overview of Metro itself.
Oh, all right. So yeah, Metro 2033. The game was originally developed by 4A Games, based out of the Ukraine. The first publisher when it was released was THQ, which is but they handed it off to Deep Silver for the Redux that we all played. I'm assuming. I doubt any one of us played the original versions of the game.
I did not.
Nope.
I got the Redux.
Yeah.
I also got the Redux.
It's available on pretty much every current platform: the Switch, the PlayStation 4, Xboxes, Windows, Linux, surprisingly Mac OS, which wow. And
you played on Mac OS?
I did not.
Why? We
Oh,
could have
missed
had
opportunity.
like a full circle.
Because I gamepads.
You can't
My
use a
friends-
gamepad on wait. Can you use a gamepad on a Mac?
You can. Oh, the Xbox One you now can. Microsoft made it compatible.
Is that the only controller?
There's like small third-party ones.
other than Mac, like
Yeah.
exclusive, like it.
Steel Series makes one.
That's not a real company.
Okay. So much for that sponsorship.
Well, sorry, Mousepad. You're not real anymore.
And finally for the PlayStation Vita, which is that still like, I mean it existed on that console, but I don't think it's an active console anymore.
It's a dying brand. What was it?
It's
Is the
relative.
Vita store closing?
I can't remember if the store closed or
Did
not.
we report on that?
We
We did,
reported
but
on
they-
some of the stores. I just don't
It's-
remember if it's the
There was like a
Vita.
bunch of them closing, and then like 2 days after we recorded, before the new episode came out, they're like, "Oh, wait a minute." So the next episode,
We
we're
have
like,
the
"Yeah,
servers.
these are the stores that are gonna stay open."
Anyways, it was originally released back in March 16th of 2010 for the PC and the Xbox 360. The redo that we all played is August 26th, 2014 for the PC, PlayStation 4, and the Xbox One, and February 28th of 2020 for the Switch.
So, question before we start diving into this. When we compare this to other stuff, should we be comparing this to its contemporaries of when it was originally released?
No.
So like the 2010, or are we comparing this to the 2014? Like,
I mean, I'd say since it was re-released, it's fair to compare it because they had the chance to update the graphics and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the mechanics are the mechanics, and
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like as
2020.
far as a game,
We're going 2020.
No, that's not.
No, Nintendo version dropped 2020. And just some of the commentary that I have heard so far, it actually runs smoother than it did on the other consoles.
We'll get to some of that. So the genre, it's specifically a shooter. If you haven't played it before, it's very much shooter. It's only single player. There's no other modes for the game. I know Last Light, its sequel is the same way. I believe so is Exodus, if I'm not mistaken.
Only single player. Only single player.
Which I love story-based games. It might be why I like the series. Rated M for mature in the United States, and I believe PEGI 16 for the is that the whole EU or is that just England? I honestly don't know.
I think it's
That's everything outside the
ridiculous.
US. Peggy's just everything.
I'm just gonna throw this out there that having one woman control the rating of a game is
Just don't
ludicrous.
I do not think we should be adding Peggy. Just saying, that sounds dangerous.
How does
to
she
me.
have all the power? How does she just be like, my name Peggy, I choose it's a 16? Not
I
fair.
mean, we got rid of the monarchy. They still have some of them.
what
Fair
were we
enough.
talking about again?
Who knows?
Metro.
um,
Not somebody named Peggy who's rating a game outside the
This
US.
is what I get for adding ratings. It's pretty much $20 across all the platforms. You can generally find it on sale. Like as of recording, it's on sale on the Epic Store and the PlayStation Store. For the Switch, though, it is $25 for the digital copy. Physical
I
copy
paid
is-
for that extra goodness.
That's fine. I paid for the bigger screen and the once again blurry.
Wait a minute. I played it on a 65-inch 4K. How is that a small screen?
No, I
Just saying.
Oh, you played it. You
I
connected
played
it.
docked. I played
Okay.
both. We'll get into that, but I
Yeah,
played docked.
yeah. Do we want to discuss the major changes between the Redux and the original, or do we want to jump into the story right off the bat?
I say give the story synopsis because
Yeah.
I think some of the major changes will kind of come up
We'll
as we talk.
So again, the game originally came out in 2010. It's based off the Metro 2033 novel series. And it basically in 2013 in their world, nuclear war happens and basically wipes out the whole planet. In Russia, survivors ran into the metro stations, which are designed to be fallout shelters even now. And that's where they live pretty much from there on in, salvaging spare parts from the metro trains, growing mushrooms as your predominant food source, along with the handful of animals that survived. Most animals that were still up on the surface have now mutated into just grotesque monsters. And if you try to go up there yourself, and even in some of the tunnels, you need to wear a gas mask to be able to breathe properly, which is a mechanic that comes up quite a bit in the game. Most metro stations are just independent, just trying to survive, make their way to survive. But there is a war, which I can't wait for us to start discussing, between the Stalinists and Nazis, which has so many questions that I want to read the book just to get the answers to it, hopefully. And throughout the whole system, there exists a group called the Rangers that try to kind of act as a peacekeeping force for everything else and try to act as like that communications branch. The game itself takes place in 2033, shocking, at the exhibition station when it gets attacked by the mysterious Dark Ones. They're kind of like gigantic, long-armed creatures that kind of attack your mind. It seems to be more often than anything else. A ranger that's at the station who goes by the name of Hunter decides to go out and kind of track down the Dark Ones and has your character, Artyom, take his dog tags to deliver to Polis Station, which is kind of the capital of the whole metro system. And basically to use that to ask for help for Hunter and for the station to be able to fight off the Dark Ones. To help facilitate that, Artyom joins a convoy heading down the station. he then hooks up with a smuggler, that guy that basically kind of walks him through the surface world and how dangerous it is and all the creatures. And if you're free roaming, big they just call them demons, will swoop up, attack you, and just take you out. The smuggler dies from bandits, who you are then rescued by Khan, because unique names are very popular in this game, who guides them through haunted tunnels, which was a weird mechanic that took me. I think it only comes up like once again in the whole game. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one. They part ways just before you get to the Red Line station, which, as the name implies, is run by the Stalinists. You are chased by them and are rescued by Andrew the blacksmith, who might be one of my favorite characters in the whole game. He helps you kind of figure out your way to sneak to the front line of the war between them and the Nazis. As you're sneaking your way past the Nazis, you get rescued by 2 Rangers. There's a constant theme of this character getting captured and rescued, which is, I mean, it's probably more realistic than the average shooter, where you're kind of like the hero character that can survive everything, but it definitely played really weird and makes it really difficult to write a synopsis for the game. They end up getting you to Polis, which is under attack by a mutant horde. From there, you rescue a young child and deliver him to his family, and they basically get you over to the head of the Rangers, Miller, the most Russian name they could possibly find. And he basically brings you to the council, and they're like, we're not going to help your station. Sorry, no. We got our own shit. We got stuff. No. But Miller informs you that, hey, look, that sucks, but we have a plan to blow shit up. And you basically take off to go find Station D6, which I researched a little bit, and it turns out it might actually be a real thing that exists. But you have to go to the Moscow library and survive the librarians to find where the station is actually located. After you survive it, you become a ranger, which hopefully this means Artyom doesn't get captured so damn often. And spoiler alert, I'm playing the sequel game. He still gets captured a lot. You go down to reactivate the command center, which has a weird biomass that never really gets explained all over it. You reactivate the missile silo, and then the canonical ending, you climb the Ostankio Tower to fire the missiles, to basically laser guide them in. The non-canonical ending, if you've done enough heroic acts, is Artyom realizes that the Dark Ones were actually trying to be peaceful, and it was just misinterpreted, and he destroys the system before the missile, whatever it is, arrives. And then it kind of fades out. So yeah, it's a weird game.
They try and eat the shit out of you.
Yeah. Well, like you missed like the whole ending there, where you go through some weird, like trippy dream sequence where like it's just so bullshit. Like, I mean, the ending is so bullshit.
The whole game, Artyom, like occasionally starts as it was. I put in a lot of my notes. I'm like, oh, I just started tripping balls in this level because I'm either seeing things or they do kind of like what they did at the end with the visions. Like you get that like 10 seconds of you saw some green and some trees and stuff, right? In one of the levels, and yeah, it was weird.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of weird stuff. I really hope the book is way better than this game was.
I've wanted to play Metro 2033 for a long time. And now I'd rather, like, it really makes me want to go read the book and find out what the hell the story, like, like there's story there, but they were just like, at times I felt like the way they told the story and introduced characters was like I should already know what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Like even when Artyom gets to Polis, they're like, like I'm like, oh cool, I'll get a little more story and like what's their plan, and then it's like goes to black screen, and then it comes out and they're like, oh shit, the council decided they're not going to help you with your plan. I'm like, okay, cool.
Okay.
I mean, that would be great in a cutscene.
Well, you got so you got little bits of story in between the episodes, right? Or between the different
he does his little narration.
So you get a narration to understand, but still every time like you get into a location, you're following a guy talk. I don't know if it was just my volume, but I couldn't hear any or like really understand anybody unless I was like in their butt. Like I had to be up on them, and like there's like 15 other people talking in the area, and you're like, okay, I have to listen to what? Oh, this guy's talking. It was just poorly like designed for audio for those mission areas to really just understand what was going on.
Speaking of poor audio, the voice acting was atrocious.
It was
horribly hilarious though. I thought a lot of it was like when you go and you meet Bourbon, his voice acting was so funny, and some of the lines were so cheesy that was what made me decide. I don't know if you guys did this, but that made me decide to flip out of the game, go into the main menu, and change all the voices to Russian so that I could hear the Russian audio and do subtitles instead. It was way better.
I should have done that.
Yeah, it was really good. But the thing that sold me when you and Bourbon are up on the street and he's like, oh, you call them demons? I call them bitches. I was like, wow. Wow. That was good. That was profound. That was great.
Yeah.
I do wonder if there was, okay, Rich, maybe you have the answer to this. If there was like some weird translation issues from Russian to English for what the voice actors were gonna say. So if you've got, the sentences, I don't speak Russian very well, or if at all.
Neither do I, but it sounded a lot better.
The sentences are like flip-flopped, I think. Like they're not in the direct order that we would say things. So trying to convert it can be goofy, I think, for American English. Not to state that language is goofy, because it's just what it isn't. It's just very different from the way that our sentences work together, right?
Yeah.
No, I just picked up on, like, I don't know any Russian at all, but it just sounded cooler in Russian. So when all the NPCs and things like that were talking to, or when Atium was monologuing or whatever, it just sounded really cool. But all I did is I kind of picked up on just a couple of words.
Yeah. I mean, it kind of makes sense. It's a Ukrainian studio, so they're going to have it probably was originally all recorded in Russian and then translated Google Translate or something into English. And then they did what they could, which would have that falls on THQ to figure that stuff, localization stuff out, right?
Publishers typically.
Yeah, so THQ
was the publisher.
Case.
Yeah, I thought it was weird how disposable a lot of the side characters were. How you meet them for like one level and they're dead the next level.
But like that was also kind of my favorite part too. It'd be like you'd meet this person, they'd be there for a level, they'd either be dead or oh no, they can't come with you anymore. But Artyom will either in his journal or in the little voiceover things between scenes talk to him like you've been with this person forever and you know them, and you're like, I think it was Bourbon. It was like, I don't know this strange smuggler dude. 2 missions later, spoiler, he dies. But it's like he started talking like, yeah, he was so, you just really misunderstood, and if you really got to them, I'm like, I was with the dude for 30 minutes. He barely talked.
Khan does come back.
Yeah,
kind of. Yeah,
I mean, he shows up at the Ranger.
That's true. He shows up at the very end of the game.
Yeah. Do you yell at him?
No.
God.
Oh, sorry,
but he has like
that's all I had in my notes was
it was like the story just felt like so all over the place.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of the game felt all over the place.
Yeah, that if I was to pick one word to describe this game, it'd be clunky.
It was very clunky. Yeah,
I like everything about it was just disjointed, like from the audio, which obviously that early on I was like, I wonder if this was originally in Russian and then poorly translated. Some of the things that just show up between the characters, as we just mentioned. Chris, you started on that weird tunnel stuff with the light balls and stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to this mechanics can play into the later game. It's like what I think we saw it once.
Yeah.
For a minute or two.
Yeah, like the where you go through that haunted tunnel and Khan is explaining, oh,
and you have
these
to
are
follow right behind him.
Yeah, and he's explaining this whole thing with like these are the people who are kind of stuck in a past loop or something like that. I'm like, whoa, like that's really weird and interesting. That's kind of neat. I wonder if this comes back again in the future. It doesn't. That's the only time you ever figured this out, and it's never explained what that actually was.
Like, what was so cool? What messed me up trying to follow this game in general was like, you started and it was all about mutant things killing your family members and whatever, right? You're going through that. You're going to try and figure out something to do with the mutants. All of a sudden, you're in the middle of a war, like between two human factions. Like, what? Where did this come from? Nobody talked about this in like the beginning of it. Nobody was saying good luck with the war up front. And then like you're back into like mutants again, like, or you get like some supernatural stuff in there and then back to the mutants. And it's like, what the hell is this game doing? Where like I didn't even understand most of the game and what I was trying to do. At that point, it was just like I'm roaming. I am walking to a destination.
I know I have a compass point.
And don't even get me started on that stupid compass.
It was so bad at telling you where to go.
There's a compass?
It tells you where to go, kind of.
What? I didn't even know there was a compass.
If you hold
a journal and a lighter.
If you hold M,
is that what that was for?
Yeah.
Oh, like it took me so long to even figure out that there was a lighter because I didn't even know I had a lighter. Apparently, if you hold the journal button, there is a lighter. Like I thought that my game was bugged for the longest time on that stupid spirit level because I'm running into these spider webs thinking, oh, maybe I knife them, hit them with the knife. Nothing happens.
Boop.
Is there an event that's supposed to happen? I don't know what's going on. And I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, I gotta be missing something here. Like, I don't know what to do.
There's definitely like zero hand holding or training on like what like. I hopped into the controls menu a couple times. Like, how do I pick this thing up? Like, how do I use it? Like, there's a melee, and then you can throw something, but like. To switch between grenades and stuff, you have to go into your weird menu that I didn't know I had.
Many times.
The controller scheme also I was not a fan of. Like,
it's a little junky.
It got me a few times, especially with like left trigger being your like ADS, your aiming button, and your right trigger being shoot. In that mission, when you're actually going to save Bourbon, I screwed it up because I had my shotgun out and I went to left trigger for an aim to hit something. To like, I was just trying to like scope in to see a little bit further. I wasn't trying to shoot. And all of a sudden, just like, I was like, well, there goes the stealth mission.
Yep.
I forgot about that.
You know, that's a really interesting thing to bring up too. And this is probably why this is a big reason why I think the game feels very messy is that there is a lot of sections of the game where you think that the game is kind of supposed to be played in one way, but then it kind of flip flops on what it wants to do. So it goes from like being a really action oriented, like almost Call of Duty style, like set piece driven action, hero piece to now it wants it to be a survival horror game where you have no resources and then there's things coming to kill you everywhere and now there's a stealth mission and like
real quick who played on Spartan and who played normal?
Spartan.
I played on hardcore, whatever that was.
It was probably
maybe
normal
Spartan
then.
mode?
Well, there's two different things. There's I think it's Spartan versus survival, and then there's the actual difficulty levels.
Yeah, Spartan mode is a little bit more action oriented. Suppose this is one of those Redux things where it said it would probably come up, but where things like stealth and ammunition and the survival aspects of it wasn't as important. That's why I was curious what we all played. So I played Spartan as well because I
probably played Spartan as well. Yeah,
but I mean, sorry to interrupt, but yeah, like you were saying with the it didn't know what it wanted to be as far as the action and the stealth.
Yeah. So it like, and I'm just basing that mainly off of the different segments of the game, being caught in the middle of like a big war thing and trying to navigate your way through that when it was on the flip side, there's like lots of like spirit sort of things and like sort of the paranormal with the whole shadow ghost stuff and the monsters kind of telepathically screwing with your head. Like it was like flip-flopping between this is going to be kind of like an action adventure game, this is going to be a psychological like thriller game. Like it just kind of bounced around and didn't do very good at either, in my opinion. I don't know what you guys thought about that.
I mean, yeah, it was just, again, it was just clunky and disjointed. Yeah, you'd go from one experience to the next. I think most of the monster encounters were like almost like defend yourself against waves.
Yeah,
It'd be like, oh, cool, you fight your way through this, and then there's a whole bunch of monsters that you're outside that station defending it, or you're trying to get in with Bourbon into that. Was it the armory? Was that the armory? And they're like, oh shit, you're getting attacked. And you had to stand there and just shoot them off. And to me, I was playing the Spartan mode, so I had plenty of ammo, but I'm like, how does anybody who's playing survival get through this? Like,
that was my thought as well. Yeah, because I was pretty sure, I'm like, okay, I didn't pick the survival horror part of this. And with all those like giant waves of stuff that you have to kill, I mean, even on hardcore mode, like I was running out of ammo frequently. And that's basically all I ended up using my currency on. My currency was completely dumped into buying ammo, which, I mean, I guess we didn't mention that yet, is that, throughout the game, you end up periodically in these little towns, these little metro towns. And it's kind of like your sort of safe point, your safe spot to kind of wind down that from the action. And you can buy things like med kits and gas filters and ammo. And I pretty much exclusively just bought ammo, and because I would run through it so fast.
Who else here got robbed by a hooker?
I don't
know. Find a hooker.
Oh, I remember them asking.
I think it was chapter 2, Riga. I think it was one of the stations you're in. I was followed a kid around. He took me somewhere, and there was somebody else standing there like, hey, you want a good time? Like, what the hell? So take me in. They knock me out, take my stuff.
God damn it.
Nice.
God damn it, Matt.
Just trying to experience all
you
parts of the
bad
game.
boy, man. You're a bad boy.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really weird to go through those different chunks like that. Like, I didn't see. I understood. Like, I liked it when you're riding the carts throughout the different like systems. I think that made sense to have like some shooting action to it and to liven that up a little bit. But like every time you got to a new town, you had to turn around and just fight your way through it. Stand there for 15 minutes and shoot them all. I found if you actually just stay back far enough, maybe not for hardcore, they'd take care of everything for you. I had so much ammo by the time I got to the war, I Rambo'd it. I went straight through and
really?
I
stealthed through.
Oh no, I killed every single human died. Like I didn't care what team they were on, everything died.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead.
No, it just felt really weird. And a lot of the stuff felt like it was really just walk through desolate area until scripted event. And that's what I like. For me, it felt too scripted throughout the entire thing. Like there wasn't anything random encountery for me. And then anything that had like the flying dudes,
the demons,
I just felt like you were screwed. It didn't matter. Like scripted event, super duper easy. You just watch everyone shoot everything else. Scripted event, flying monster, it grabs you, throws you in the river, you're dead. Like I just I don't know.
There was only one level that had sort of those random encounters that I thought was really dumb. And that was one of the I'm trying to remember everything that happened.
I didn't think you were gonna say dumb. I thought you were like
it was really dumb. No, it was it's the same level where you have to go and rescue that little kid and bring him back to his aunt, I guess. I think it was his aunt.
I thought it was his mother because
it was his mom.
Was it his mom?
His uncle.
His uncle was who he was with when you found him.
Well, yeah. So that level, and the reason that I hated that level so much is that those like little dog things loved coming up out of nowhere, and I don't know if it was just my game that was bugging out or something like that. Could never hear him. I couldn't hear him coming up around me, so like all of a sudden I would just be getting attacked from behind, and I'm like, well, what the shit? Like, I mean, because I'm playing on hardcore mode, I get hit like 3-4 times and I'm dead. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I guess I'm dead because I didn't hear the thing coming up around me.
They're weirdly silent for the creatures until they show up.
I heard him growling the whole way through.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I also fell in like 100 holes, but that's beyond the point.
Oh, yeah, that was dumb.
So those sections, I did not like those monsters. I think the first time I came across them, I kept trying to shoot them, and it seemed like they still kept coming. And anytime there was 2 sections of the game And when I had that stupid kid on my back, and when you're fighting through the when you're supposed to sneak through the librarians, I was just like, F it. And I sprinted. I just ran wherever, like that's where I would pull out my compass and I would run to where the compass told me to go. And I was like, I don't like, let's talk about the librarians for a minute. I guess those little dogs things, it's like, whatever. Yeah, they're annoying. They'll chip away at your health. You can kill them. I just was annoyed with them. So I ran past them. The librarian things, like I listened to, was it Miller? Who was the guy?
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah,
hey,
Miller's the one that
stare
tells
at
you.
him.
Yep.
You
You don't turn your back.
Don't turn your back. And I did all that and it murdered me. I tried it a few times. Like, okay, I'm too close, too far away. I don't know what this is. I looked it up, did my classic. This is the only time I looked at something on a strategy. I was like, what do you do with these librarian things? And they're like, yeah, if you're within 3 meters, you're good. But if you're more than 5, it's bad. I'm like, F this. And then I was like, I just sprinted it past them. I'm like, I'm not dealing with these things.
Yep.
Nope,
Yeah. I got really frustrated with that too, because there was a lot of times where I would sit fairly far away from it and all it would do is just walk at me, and then it would do the thing where it kind of like beats its chest and flexes, and then I don't know if it just restarted, because then it started just walking at me again, and then it just killed me. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks.
You
know what, I'm just gonna shoot these things from now on. I don't care.
Yeah, at one point, I was like, okay, I think I got this, because we're just me and this librarian thing. They're these big gorilla mutant looking things, right? And we're just staring at each other. I'm like, okay, I figured this out. And he stares, he gets a little closer. I kind of keep looking at him. I'm like, no, man. And he like, his AI like did this thing, like I think I stared him down, right? But then he turned and kind of walked, but it was like right by me. So it triggered him again to be like, F you, dude. And he just started beating on me. I'm like, I'm not dealing with this.
Did you feel like you died randomly a lot?
Yes.
Like I died so many different times where I was like, what the hell killed me? Where did that come from? What was it? I don't even know why I died. Like, no, and part of that might have been because I couldn't hear the story. Like following behind Khan, I was like, oh, okay. I never heard him say stick close. So like I died right after, like I lit the webs on fire, took my steps forward and just died. And I was like, what the shit? Did it again, kind of ran forward, like the little, like all of a sudden I got hit with all these little dark hands. And I was like, where did this come from? I have no idea. I've never seen this before. How does the game punish me for this? Like, I have to reload the checkpoint all the way the hell back there. I mean, it wasn't that far, but because I got slapped with these dark hands that I've never seen, never heard of, nothing. Like, I felt like there was a lot of things where it was like, oh, you died, go back to the checkpoint, but now you'll know better, like a bad Dark Souls. Like, you didn't learn, like you had no chance to get away from it if you missed the tiniest of things. Like when you are in the what is that, when you first get to the Reds and you're supposed to like go walk in, you get arrested, and then you're following that guy through the thing. I didn't catch him say go to the left the first time, the second time, or the third time.
Really?
Because you're being shot at, there's other clatter going.
Oh, I guess, yeah.
And so my brain was like, I was like, how the hell do I get out of this? That's the one spot that I looked up. I was like, okay, I don't know where, like those, also all of those little colonies were such a horrible ass maze of like circular pathways that I hated it. Like I absolutely was annoyed. I didn't know where to go with it. Like, I don't know, man. I feel like I died a lot just because game mechanic, not because of like my own inabilities.
Who was that guy that we were going with and then ran and then got shot?
Unnamed.
He was just a dude.
Unnamed.
Yeah.
He's probably my
guy.
favorite character in the game, because he's the best example of getting introduced to a character
and then just immediately
deleting
him.
Every character you talk to was just there to introduce some aspect of the lore, and then they were gone. Then they were disposable.
But just enough to confuse you.
It does feel like this is a game trying to set up future games more so than it's trying to be a game in and of itself.
It
to an extent.
I wonder if it would have been better if I had read the book beforehand. Then I would kind of know the world, because again, to me, it felt like a lot of times, they gave you a bunch of story, but there was like a lot of assumptions, like you already knew this, or like I was saying with Bourbon, like you supposedly, the Artyom wrote in his journal, like he spent all this time with them when it was like, no, we just walked through that tunnel. Like, how are you guys best friends now in that 5 minutes, right? So it felt like there was like they were trying to jam so much of this potentially, again, I know nothing of the book, into the story in this 8-hour campaign mixed with gameplay, right? And it was just like, again, it just felt like they expected you to know more about everything going on and the people, and it was just like, but I don't. So this is all weird and confusing.
I think from a story perspective, that might be, but even if you read the book, I still don't think that it's going to add to the fact that the game relies way too hard on cutscenes to get you through most of the levels. Like a lot of those levels were just you being railroaded through the level.
It's very
and
linear.
It was insanely linear. Mainly because there was so like even all the way up through the last chapter, like chapter 7, you're basically just following Miller the whole way. You're like up until he gets his NPC killing, then you just follow him all the way until
he's alive.
Is he alive?
Yeah. Miller survives.
Oh, okay. Well, he got injured. I just assumed
he did get injured.
Yeah. Okay. I just felt like he was. I guess he.
You're so used to that pattern.
Every other NPC just got killed. I figured he was just dead too. So. Whatever.
No. Yeah. He does survive it.
I was a little surprised with it. The whole. I didn't think this was some open world game, but when it was so on rails like it was, I was surprised. I was like, this is not what I thought this game was.
Yeah. So. Right. It's almost like it took the worst parts of Call of Duty and made half the game that.
I think, part of this might be an adaptation from one of the books, like specifically the first book or something. I don't know, because I didn't look into it, but maybe it's just because they tried to fit the whole book into a short game that it's so sporadic and clunky and chunky and railroaded, right? All of that, I don't know how all that works together, but it does. I think that just might be it, is they tried to fit too much into one game because of all the different pieces they felt like they had to touch. Or maybe it was like a fan service in a way that if you were a fan, you would know all of these different things and you'd be mad if they didn't put those things, kind of like the Hobbit books versus movies. People have expectations, so maybe they felt they had to get those expectations in the game.
Maybe.
I mean, this is a group of mostly first-time developers. Most of the people that weren't first-time developers came off of Shadows of Chernobyl. Which you can see a lot of themes that are obviously coming across.
Sure.
So considering how big of an open world Shadows of Chernobyl was, if I recall it correctly, it's been a long time since I played that game. I could see it being like they were trying to test out new ideas outside of that system, and it just there was a lot of trial and error, and without having some probably more money, you can't really do a whole lot about it. I mean, I will say their follow-up game, I've gotten through a couple hours of it. It's a lot more polished.
Is it? I mean, I bought it too. I bought it on PC because I got like both games for like $10. I know I'm the Xbox guy here, but I'm like, I like money, saving money too. So
I probably could have mentioned this at the beginning, but I have played this game before when it first came out way back in 2010.
Was it better then than it is now?
I recall really enjoying it. And I'm going to guess it has a lot to do with some of the mechanics that I actually really dig in the game. Like the monetary system, I think, is fun. I dig the idea that the old military grade ammo is your money, and the weapons you're firing are using like recycled.
And
yeah, I did think that it was really interesting that you could actually use your money as ammo.
Yeah,
which was kind of cool. It was kind of cool, but it didn't seem like it did enough. but it was neat.
It's if you switch. So I don't recall playing it in Spartan mode when I first played it. I believe I played it in survival mode way back when, because I remember having to switch over to using the stronger ammo during those like big horde scenes.
Spartan mode was added in Redux, so if you played this when it launched, you
then it was
played
survival mode. Yeah. I remember having to switch and use that ammo a little bit, and actually having to think about, okay, what times is it okay to do this?
I had so much ammo, it was just no problem.
I don't think I had a ton of issues with ammo on this playthrough.
Yeah, I had one of the Kalashnikov guns that shot that, and I didn't realize it was using that ammo.
Oh,
nice.
Which was fine, because like, you know, I ended up shooting like a couple hundred rounds of it, and then I realized, wait a second, that's not
broke.
Yeah, that's, you know, but I you know, I didn't do a lot of buying ammo or items. I think the most I did was upgrade a few, but like once I got in a groove with a couple of guns, like there's actually quite a few guns in this game, but I never really used any of the, was it like the pneumatic guns that like
that's
air rifles or rail guns?
That's like one of the things that I actually liked about the game. Like those pneumatic guns are actually kind of cool. Like, so I got one of the sniper rifle for it, and I thought that worked out beautifully. But you have to sit there and pump the sniper rifle to get it to. I thought that I did like that. That was cool.
I thought, like, to me, it seemed like all of that might have been better if I played survival, because one, I had the at some point the Shambler shotgun, the kind of automatic 6-shot. I had I forget what was the other one. There was another assault rifle that didn't use the ammo, but it wasn't a, like really crappy SMG you get at the start of the game.
The one that side loads.
Yeah, that's not the one I had, but I had another machine gun that used the actual machine gun ammo. And then I had, as I mentioned, the Kalash that used your currency, the military ammo. And I put parts on those, right? I upgraded them so they were they fit all my situations. I didn't do stealth. I didn't have to be quiet, mostly because every time I tried to be quiet and stealthy, one, we should get into this. The AI is really dumb. Two, it was like, I'm just not good at stealth, so I'd get like 5 or 6 kills in, and then I'd not see this dude over here, and then it's like F it, and start mowing people down. But yeah, once I got my weapons upgraded, I didn't feel like I needed to switch over to another gun that I saw on the ground. It wasn't like, oh, let me pick up this other assault rifle that's a little bit different, or let me go back to SMG or the revolver, or let me find this gun that's the sniper rifle that I have to pump it up. I'm like, but I got 2 automatic I guess kind of 3, right? What is it? The shotgun semi-automatic, right? So it was just like, I no reason to switch. So I think I kind of missed out on a little bit of the game there, trying a lot of those other weapons, but yeah, I just stuck with those 3 guns most of the game because it got me.
As soon as I put reflex sights on all my guns, I was done. I was like, this is it. This is my final loadout. We're moving on.
I had it wasn't like the sniper zoom, but the Kalashnikov had like that mid-range zoom. That was kind of nice in a few sections where I need a little bit more range, but I didn't need to snipe anybody. That was about it. But yeah, mostly it was just reflex sights, lasers on them. But yeah,
I swapped guns constantly. I don't know why. Like every once in a while, I'd just be like, I'd walk into an area and be like, oh, I want to try this one now. And I just drop whatever gun I was carrying and play with something else.
I was basically rocking that AK until I picked up the flamethrower at the end.
That took me.
And then I didn't realize that I had swapped out my AK for the flamethrower. He just handed it to me, and I'm like, "Oh, cool, thanks, dude." And then we go into the next section, and I'm just like, "Oh, I don't have my AK no more. That sucks."
Yeah. See, like Chris, like I had like wanting to try a new gun that like crossed my mind again, but it was like I spent
have what you got
time to what is it? I upgraded this. I spent stuff on this. Why would I swap this out for base level something that maybe I won't like? So
I get that. I understand it.
But did you guys use any of the items? Like
nice.
I tried using the grenades a bunch, especially in those defense wave like missions, and it like I hated them. The only one was the incinerary. because you could put it a couple of levels. You could see where they're spawning and like they pathed into the area. It was like, I'll just drop it there and either kill them or do a lot of damage to them as they run through that.
I only used regular grenades, and I used them in the halls, like when I was going through. I like basically Rainbow Six, right? I'm walking through the halls. I know there's a group of guys in there. I'm like, Huck, throw a grenade, kill 10. Huck, throw a grenade, kill a few more. The throwing knives, personally, I thought were just hot garbage because I was like, huh, boing. Oh, well, that's cool. I'll hit him in the face. Huh. Pop. Nope. Face shot didn't work. Chest shot. Nope. It'll just bounce off him. Screw it. I never picked up another throwing knife. Like
Oh, really?
I was so frustrated with like any of those. They stuck in any terrain piece, right? But not the people. I was like, these are garbage. I'm just going to continue. Like, if I can hit him in the face with a knife, I can hit him in the face with a grenade. It'll be all right.
Yeah, I walked through the whole Nazi base with just throwing knives. I never fired my gun.
That was one of the areas that I started. And I actually got, I think, about halfway through that, just, sneaking up behind people and killing them. But yeah, it was just like, I think I dropped down in one area and there was some dude there. But again, I'm not good. I don't have the patience for stealth in video games.
Did you guys go stealth kill?
Either.
Did you guys go stealth kill the guy that shit his pants?
I can't watch that one tonight.
He was in the, after bourbon gets taken, you hop down the one side and he's like, oh, I cannot hold it no more. And then he like runs off and he's like shitting his pants as he's running by you.
I let him go.
That was
I didn't even notice that.
I walked up like,
yeah, no, that was one of the other areas where I tried being stealthy and again, something happened. But which
actually, funny enough, I mean, we talk about like the scarcity of ammo and all that. It was funny is because every time I went and did the whole Rambo thing and didn't do stealth, looting the bodies gave me so much ammo that it was just I never actually ran out of ammo. Like that was the best way to keep my ammo supply, was to just keep killing people. And I was like, all right, this works.
I think it wasn't until the last level where I ran out of ammo on one of my guns. I think it was the regular machine gun ammo. But it most of the game was like, I have plenty of ammo. I was even stocked up on ammo for guns I didn't use. So
yeah.
I ran out of shotgun several times, actually, now that I think about it. Another audio issue. Every time I'd pull the trigger on the gun, maybe it's just a switch, I'm not sure. Every time I pull the trigger, it would shoot, and then like a second later, the gunshot would go.
Man.
So
really?
I would blast 2 shotgun shells into something, and I'd hear 1 blast, and then 2 blast, and I was like, I only pulled what the hell?
God, you're gonna make me go back over the audio.
Was that the double barrel?
The double barrel, I went back and I double checked. Like the pistol had the same issue. I would shoot, and then like a second later, I'd get the bang. The same thing with the AK. I started one-shotting instead of just holding the trigger, and it was delayed. So I didn't actually the feedback in the controller and the audio didn't happen until a second later. So I was already like 3 shots into like whatever gun I was shooting before I realized that I was actually shooting. Like I'm trying to take the shots and I was angry. I was like, why is this shooting? And then all of a sudden, bang, 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 and I'm out of ammo and it's still banging. And I'm like, what the heck? So that was super disorienting to try and like work through, especially with a first person shooter.
The double barrel, if you pulled the left trigger, it didn't aim down sight, it fired both. That's what I thought. But if you're having it with more than one gun, I wonder if this is, the Redux had a bunch of different extra features in it, right? And I'm wondering if
like delayed audio.
I'm wondering if this was one of the features for the Switch. That's they added that in there. That's why it's the extra $5, compared to the other platforms.
Makes sense.
It's just a guess. It's probably the right one.
Did you guys have a lot of like bugs and issues and things like that with your game?
It crashed a lot for me.
Did you play it on PC or
on Series X?
So I mean, playing it on PC, the PC felt like a pretty weak port because I ran into a lot of weird bugs, like getting stuck in places. Like getting physically stuck in places, and then I'd have to load checkpoints because I was getting stuck.
Yeah, I don't think I had that.
I ran into one issue, which I wouldn't say is like a huge thing. I mean, it sucked, but this can sometimes happen in a lot of other games. Is something didn't trigger the next. It was towards the end where you're fighting with the group of Spartans or whatever, right? You're going towards the D6 facility, right? So you're fighting with them through those like 5 or 6 or the same rooms, and it's like, oh no, they're attacking us again, right? The final one, something didn't trigger for them to move on to the next door. That's the only issue I had, which was surprising since Chris said you were having it crash all the time.
It crashed quite a few times. It's just the randomest of moments is all
That
of a
had to
sudden
suck.
it freeze.
I'm gonna pick like this is really nitpicky. This is really stupid, but I'm gonna complain about like the game, like games, you know, sometimes take a long time to boot up and they have their splash screens. And I hated metros. The trying to get past the tunnels and get it was so slow. There was no skip, so I guess that had to have sucked for you since your game kept crashing, right?
Right. You had to go through that tunnel. You get to see the NVIDIA logo and every other logo in the help make this game. And did you know that this was based off of the 2033 novel by Dimitri something or other? Yeah.
They had a book laying in like every possible desk.
They really advertised the hell out of that book. Now I do kind of want to read the book because I mean, if that was the goal, is to get me to read the book, I am interested now. So
the game sells you on the book.
Yeah, I've wanted to read it for a while. So, but yeah, now the playing the game actually makes me want to go and read it and be like, what did I miss? This seems like a cool world.
Exactly.
It seems like a fun world.
Yeah.
But it's so weird.
It does seem like it would be like maybe the book is a good story, but the game just didn't tell it well.
As far as like bugginess on the Switch, it went really well. I think it was a smooth port on almost everything, other than there were some audio issues, and that probably explains why I didn't hear the guy tell me to go left either, because it really felt like just audio was off. And then the loading screens, like the loading time, and I'd love to know what it was like for you guys, but it was like 5 or 6 minutes of like, dude would be like, let me tell you all the stuff on the story. 23%. I was like, oh,
it was pretty.
Probably 2 minutes more likely, but it like 5 is kind of on the high end of them. So
I kept cutting him off because it loaded before he finished talking.
Yeah, it loaded really fast for me.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a Switch feature that I paid for. I get the whole the whole story as part of the game.
Yeah.
Right.
We want you to know what happens.
You had to sit and listen to him speak. He's got a lot of important things to say.
I have the microphone. You will listen to every damn word.
Best friends with bourbon in the span of 5 minutes.
Hey, going through those tunnels together, you went through some shit, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
Probably literally, but
had to huddle together for warmth that night.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
In those loading screens.
Yeah,
I may have played a different game. Let's not worry about it.
What did you guys feel? So you guys did the stealth stuff. I kind of brought this up already. Like, was it just me or was the AI super dumb? Like,
it's dumb as hell.
Super dumb is like, I felt like any other game that's a stealth game, the AI would have seen me and started shooting. Because again, I'm not very good at this, but there's times where I'm like, the guys are all not quite looking at me, but I'm like, they should see me or hear me or something.
Well, your character ate a ton of carrots and has excellent night vision.
Yeah.
No one else has ever had a carrot before in their life.
He wears slippers the whole game, not boots.
Yes.
I don't know. Maybe it's like a difficulty thing, but like I felt like the reason that I didn't even want to bother with stealth is because I had troubles just staying stealthy. Because there'd be like, if I accidentally let go of control for like a second, I would make one footstep and the whole room would just be swarming on me all of a sudden. So it was just, I don't know if it's just like a weird balancing thing, but yeah, like I could navigate through some of like the lighting fixtures and things like that and it'd be totally fine. But like the second that I did anything not quite correct, it was just game over. And I was like, all right, screw it. I'm just going to go and blast my way through this. This is taking too long.
I'll give you an example of like how bad mine was. Matt, go ahead. I'll let you interject.
I was just going to say, I wonder if this is something to do with the Spartan mode, right? You know,
maybe.
Or it could have been, like you said, the difficulty.
Yeah.
So when I'll give you a specific example. You know, you are going back to the surface after you fight the Nazis. It's like that snowy area. I mean, all of it was snowy, right? But like you're going up the little things. It's like a cave looking area. I ran through that just knifing, just clicking the knife button, because I could run right up to their chest before they'd be like, what? And they'd be like, oh, and just keep hauling ass. So that's how bad like their detection on me was. I could be straight in front of them, square up to their chest, and then they realize I'm there, and I still got to be able to hit the stealth kill button.
Well, I could be wrong, but I felt like all their it was all based on their vision. So if you tucked out the lights, or if it was
I
a dark
ran
hallway,
at them with a flashlight. Like there's no, I was like,
but I mean, like I think it's legitimately the external ones, because there's all the little
yeah, no, I left them on too. I just ran straight at them and picked them off one by one. Like there were three of them standing. There were three of them standing next to each other, and I killed the first one, turned to the second one, thought I was gonna have to shoot, and it said click for like stealth kill, and I was like, okay, boop. And then the third guy's like, hey, don't do that. And I was like, oh, boop. Like that's how bad it was for me for stealth wise. Like I didn't have to hide, but there were some areas where I felt like I was being really stealthy, and then all of a sudden it was like they see you. Like I opened a door and like left a whole trail of dead bodies behind me, and some dude way up in the rafters from wherever sees this like tiny glimpse of my foot and is like, we've got company, and then everyone like floods into me. I'm like, really? Where were you? I didn't even see you.
I think there's definitely some scripted areas where it's like you're not stealthy at that spot no matter what. I could be wrong, but it would be interesting, and I might actually try to see if I can locate something for it to see if someone did a deep dive on their stealth mechanics to actually understand
like
how the heck
pseudo stealth.
Yeah, like, well, how is it supposed to work in that game? Because it never gets explained at all.
Speaking of never explaining, how was it? Am I just being dumb, or how useless was the night vision in the game? Did you guys find the
I think
night
I
vision?
ever used it.
I used it once because I accidentally hit N instead of M when I was trying to pull up my compass.
Did it
Oh, there's
actually
only
give
one
you
spot, right?
Did it actually give you night vision?
Mm-hmm.
Because it didn't even work. Was that all you had to do was just press N and it was night vision? Okay, I must have had it bugged the entire game then, because when I pressed N, the glasses would come down, nothing would change. I would lift them up, nothing would change.
Interesting.
I thought you didn't pick up night vision.
Yeah, I'm gonna send you guys just like a clip of this if you guys want to like put it on Twitter or something like that. But it's literally like you see him put the glasses down, nothing changes, and I'm like, this is the night vision. This is useless. This is useless.
I want to make a joke, but like 10% of our listener base is Russian, so I don't want to do like the typical like.
But I'm just saying, like, yeah, like I don't know if it was just bugged for me or what. Like, yeah, I thought maybe I had to press another button or something like that to quote turn it on while I had the glasses on, but
no, it was just
okay.
And
I didn't even know you had them.
And when I had it on, I was like, "This is dumb."
You don't pick them up
in your menu.
They're in the menu, but I don't think you actually pick up night vision until like way later in the game.
It was
where I picked it up is the mission where you have to cross that track between the Reds and the Nazis.
Is that that might be where it is. I remember seeing him grab it and kind of attach it, and then I don't think I hit it again.
The other mechanic that I thought was kind of dumb was the air filter. Again, I'm gonna put an asterisk next to this because A, I didn't play on a harder mode, and B, I played Spartan, so a lot of that crap was I never ran out, right? There was plenty of ammo, and
it was never a stress. Yeah.
But I hated the whole mechanic, the gas mask thing entirely.
What pissed me off about it was you kind of knew when you needed to have it on, because you had maybe you didn't have this, but he started going right.
Oh, I thought he was having a baby. I guess I misunderstood.
But there was so many times where like, okay, put it on. I worked through this area, but there was never anything that said, okay, you're safe to take it off. So I think there was still a chunk of the game.
A lot. Yeah.
It was like, okay, can I take this off? And I take it off, and he wouldn't go. So I was like, okay. I thought for a second, because you can always see just the top of your watch in the game and it was like halfway through, I was like, oh, I had it on at the time. I was like, oh, the light's blue. Maybe when I get out of the area, like it turns off. Maybe that's how you get that indicator, like you're in a bad area, like to indicate to the player, like it's safe to turn this, take this off. Nope. I just, again,
the blue light is your stealth mechanic. That's what tells you when you're in the light or in the darkness. Yeah.
Okay. Can we talk for a second about the watch?
I like the
fucking
watch.
Sweet. I actually had to look it up again. I looked at these watches. Oh, I think they're clocks is what I ran across years ago. Those Nixie watches or clocks are sweet, and I really want to get one. But yeah, so sorry, he had a watch like it, and it was really, really sweet. I was like, that's sweet. It was really sweet. Should I say sweet a few more times?
So for my part in the gas mask, it felt like every time I needed to 1, reload, 2, change my filter, 3, fight the bad guys. Like it felt like it was always set up to be at those times. I could wear this damn thing through the entire game, but I only needed it in specific instances, it felt like. So I don't know how much that timer really had anything to do with it, for one. Might be a fun test to just go sit there with it on and see if it actually goes down. But and the other part is, did anybody lose it from a fight?
Yeah.
Like when you're Ramboing and just get it kicked off?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
I got it pretty damaged one time.
I've had it break and I just swapped it out with a different one.
So with how muddy this game is visually, having your goggles get damaged sucks. I played through maybe an hour of the game with shitty goggles. I almost stopped playing at that point because I'm like, this is terrible. I don't want to look at this. I don't care if it's on a 60-inch, 65-inch, or a handheld. I don't want to look at that for an hour and a half. Like it's just terrible for 2 hours, 3 hours.
And it's the one mechanic that the one thing that I was actually really worried about with this mechanic actually ended up happening to me, is that at one point towards the end of the game, I hadn't bought any more of those filters or anything like that, and I was running low because I was figuring stuff out when I was going through like the library or the archives or whatever. So I was low on those filters already, but when I was going through one of those on underground missions where we were going to D6, I ran out of filters. And then I got a quick save and I was literally just dying over and over and over and over. Like there's nothing I could do. Eventually what ended up happening, and the only reason I was able to make it further into the game, is that my game bugged. And if I just pressed T, even with no filters on, I was just still able to breathe. So it was fine.
Interesting.
Yeah, like I didn't even have my gas mask on, and I was in an area where I was supposed to have it on, and then it didn't do anything. So I was like, okay, I guess the game is like taking pity on me, or if it's like if it's bugging out, I can't tell anymore.
So I was gonna get to this later, but I actually I didn't complete the game because of a death loop, and it's not the same one, but very similar. I got stuck on the roof of a building and was continuously respawned there and taken by a bird. It doesn't matter. I think I might take a clip of this just to show it, but he would just drop me off the building. And like, I was like watching this, I was like, okay, maybe I can get up and get away before like the game loads complete, or like as soon as it loads, I can start running and get to this little spot. Nope. It was already like right there. I showed it to like my partner. I was like, am I doing like, do you see this? Am I going crazy right now? Like, how does this work? So that's where I ended, was just being thrown off of a building in circles. So that is the only one real like game breaking glitch that I ran into, and it sucks that Rich, you found one too with the auto saves. Like that's just kind of,
I mean, but that, especially in that era, that can happen with a lot of games realistically. Like I had that happen in Skyrim way back in the day.
Yeah,
but in Skyrim you could save when you wanted to.
Yeah. The issue I ran into with that too, or at least maybe I didn't see it, is that I really couldn't restart the level from the beginning. It just would only give me the option to reload from my last quick save.
It's I can't remember specifically, but I feel like that's just another sign of a young developer just doesn't know all the tech.
Yeah, so is this game wasn't a AAA studio that made this, right?
No, 4A Games. This is their first release. All they've done is the Metro series.
Okay.
And they're
so then I'll give them a little bit of slack for that, but still kind of janky.
They could have done something, I think, with the remaster or the Redux edition to fix that. And I think that's where like the value is lost a little bit, is we didn't get a lot of those. We got some new features, like new game modes and things like that, but they didn't go in and like take care of like housekeeping on it. Yeah. And that's, you know, where I'm frustrated with it.
That's, to me, if you're doing a remaster, remake, whatever you should fix those. Like, that happened to me. I played Fable Anniversary, I don't know, 10 years ago, and there was still a game-breaking bug there that if you did a mission before you finished another, it broke the portal that took you to the last area. And I was like, what is this? This is the newest. Yeah. So for me, they should have done a little bit more bug fixing in the Redux version when they re-released it.
I mean, really all the Redux was supposed to do is, well, all it does is takes the original game and puts it on the same engine they used for Last Light, its sequel, and that's more or less all they did. They didn't really put a lot of effort into changing the game fundamentally.
And apparently they stitched a bunch of levels together.
Yeah, that was a little odd. Like, I think like that first outdoor level you go to, that's supposed to be, I think, 2 different levels, but you know, because of modern technology, they made it one.
They can actually handle.
Yeah. Which isn't a terrible thing when they kind of connect those up.
It did feel like some of the areas were really small, and you're all of a sudden like, oh, I'm loading a new level again. Okay.
I think it was the second or third mission. I was like, wow, like I'd only played like less than an hour, and I got to this. I'm like, wait, it's done already?
Yeah.
And then I went and looked at the because what I do to help take my notes, I put all the different chapters in there. I'm like, oh wow, like that was 6 different whatever sub chapters or levels or whatever in that chapter. I was like, this is weird.
Yeah, some of those levels were ridiculously short. Like it would be like one of those like silly on rails cutscenes, and then like the level is over.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's just really weird.
Was anybody else a little disappointed you didn't spend more time outside? I know it's called Metro, underground, but I kind of thought that there would be a little bit more outside, you know, stuff.
I liked it being in the underground. I thought that was really cool. It wouldn't have the same like horror kind of effect that they were going for if they would have put it outdoors more, because it was sunny. You know, the only thing you had going for you was radiation. So you just had to keep that mask on until somebody shot it off, and you have 4 seconds to find a new one before you die.
Yeah, that was interesting, is that I didn't think, part of me was thinking, and maybe this was just kind of a bad expectation that I had, but like, since everybody kind of lives in the metro, I always figured that it was kind of like, you know, did you ever play the game as a kid, Ghost in the Graveyard?
Long time ago, yeah.
You kind of familiar with the concept where you have like kind of like a safe area, and then you leave the safe area to like go to the dangerous part of it. That's kind of what I figured the outside was supposed to be, was kind of like, you know, people don't like going out there because it spells doom, but like everybody's just out there kind of doing whatever the hell they want, and the monsters are kind of just an inconvenience.
Getting resources or trying to something, you know, put life back together on the surface somehow. Yeah. I think that's kind of what my expectations were as well. But yeah, it thought you'd be venturing out a little bit more, but you only did it, I think, 3 times for, I think each time 2 really short levels.
Yeah, it puts you back indoors really quickly. I mean, realistically, the radiation still should be fairly bad up there.
Yeah.
Though you only really get an indication of how bad it is at near like the last 2 levels. But I think some of that has more to do with the silo and the biomass creature than anything else.
That biomass stuff was like, again, they don't explain a lot of stuff, but it was just like, oh, there's these weird flower things showing throwing floaty balls at me. Like, like I thought we were just humans in the metro and then weird mutant monsters. No, now there's this big mass that.
And I even tried to look that one up to see if there's like some explanation even from the books. Nope. It just exists.
I was like, oh, this is cool. This is going to be like the Flood in Halo, and there's going to be some like hive mind. No, I mean, maybe there is. I don't know, but they don't say anything.
No.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot that's really not explained.
A lot of people seem to think it might be a reference to the original Fallout and the boss of that. the master.
Hmm.
That's about the best anyone actually has. I can't find anything from the writer to say this is what that thing actually is. So yeah.
So another game is. Okay, Rich.
Oh, I was gonna say. Oh, go ahead, dude.
No, I'm changing subject. So if you're.
No, you go ahead. No,
I
you
was
go
just
ahead.
gonna say it didn't really feel like a boss at
No.
all. It really didn't do anything other than it was part of a cutscene.
Yeah, it
That's all.
attacks you while you're in the crane, but it doesn't really hurt you.
It
It doesn't
to
hurt
stop
you.
you.
Yeah, there's no danger.
Nope.
So I know the game was done a while ago originally,
Mhm.
like 2005, 2006, something like that.
2010.
What did we say?
Is when it was
2010.
released.
The original?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just to
For the
imagine.
360.
Yeah, imagine that, man. This game came out at the same time as Borderlands 2, Mass Effect 2, Battlefield Bad Company 2.
That's kind of my
Probably
thoughts.
why it
And
got buried. To
and
be honest.
I know Chris was like, this is a smaller studio. So,
Mhm.
but like, again, expectations kind of going into this, a game I've wanted to play for a while, but never really did like any research other than that looks pretty cool. I'd like to play that.
Same.
Like, this almost felt like a early 2000s. Like, well, you can't even say that because some of the early 2000 games were like, heck, even look at things like Half-Life 2, that were, to me were like still kind of not a, you still went one way, but like there was open areas, there was puzzles, there was like there was so much more to it, even though you're just kind of, it's a typical FPS, you're just kind of going through these levels. This just felt super on, Metro felt very on rails compared to even something like that was released in 2004
And
or the original Half-Life in, what was that, 99? So
the original
Yeah.
half, or 98, I think.
98.
Was it 98? Okay.
So it was announced in 2006. That's why
Right. There was an alpha that was released in 2006.
Yeah.
But I was gonna ask, like, visually, what did you guys think of the game in general? Like,
look like butt.
It's rough.
I felt at times, if you, I'll say, like, not actually pause the game, but like I was looking back, I do this thing for Instagram, I'll take screenshots, and looking back at some of them, like, this is not like a awful looking game, but in motion it's pretty, can be pretty gross, like the animations and the people and different things like that, as you get closer to things. But I did think, especially, maybe this was the reason I was a little disappointed that you didn't get out onto the surface more. I think there was a little beauty into the destruction of Moscow there. And I guess you could even say the same with Polis. You didn't get to spend a lot of time there, but that was supposed to be this kind of the last large city where, that's where like the artists and the designers and the teachers and the math, sciences, right? That's where like the culture was still, supposed to be, where all your outlying stations were people that are just trying to survive, right? There's no time for all the fun stuff. And you walk in, you see a little area that looks pretty cool. You go into that little council chamber and bam, you're done. So I think there were at times this game looked all right, but emotion was a little rough.
Yeah.
Going to the Switch, I could not play this game handheld. It was far too, that's 720p, far too muddy and dark. It was so dark to the point, I've never had this happen on a Switch game yet. But I was playing with the lights out in my bedroom and I could see my face in the screen more than I could see the game itself. It was just so dark that it was just impossible to play handheld. So if you are looking at it potentially on the Switch, make sure you can dedicate the time. Like, this isn't I am riding the bus from here to there to play it, because you're not going to see the game. You're going to be struggling. I think I was messaging about or we were talking about it in a different episode maybe, about how difficult it was for me to get around early on. And I was playing handheld and I could not see turns into pathways. Like, I went back and forth in the same building for maybe 20 minutes trying to find a door to open that I could get through. And turns out I was just supposed to take a right down the hallway, but there was no hallway until I put it on a bigger screen.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of thinking about how it looks in comparison to some of its, and this is kind of why I asked at the beginning if we're going to compare it to its contemporaries of 2010 or if we were going to compare it to nowadays. But like even for 2010, I mean, you look at some like, going to the PS3, Xbox 360 sort of era, right? You have things like Halo Reach and a bunch of other games. Granted, those are AAA studios, so I guess I didn't really realize that going into it. I thought for some reason Metro was some kind of a AAA game for how much people have talked about it.
Same.
But I guess one thing that it's just I guess good to note is that the game does not age well.
A lot of mechanics, a lot of the graphics, a lot of everything was just
right.
What I said before, clunky. That's the one word I keep going back to with this game. Just clunky.
It's clunky.
What ending did you guys get?
The one where the eagle thing throws you off the building over and over.
Remember, it's called a bitch.
Yeah, the bitch. Or
they're not
bitch.
they're bitches.
The mutant demon just hucks me off the building.
Yeah.
In this, go ahead.
I got the one where I had to shoot the demon thing because it gave me no other option. I was trying to play it like because like one of the they set this up as theming for the story. When you talk to Khan a whole bunch, it's that it's very like anti-violence, anti-war sort of a theme. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So like really, yeah, we're just misunderstanding each other. That's all. And so I'm like kind of going through, and there's some periods of the game where you have to walk down those hallways when you're in those sort of like mind bendery, scenes or whatever, where you walk in, you see the beings and they just kind of walk at you and everything's fine. So I'm like, okay, whatever. I go through and I walk through that weird maze part of the ending, and I find one of those beings and I'm like, oh, what's up? And so I just kind of like let him come up to me and I died. I'm like, oh, what? And so at the very end, the guy hands you his sidearm and he's like, I don't remember what's the line? Is that if it's hostile, you kill it or something like
something
that?
Like that, yeah.
Wow, what a great line. If it's hostile, you kill it. And so he hands me this gun. I'm like, oh, no, this is my choice. Oh, like this is like the big choice to kill the thing or not kill the thing. And I let it walk up to me and then I just die. And I'm like, oh, what the hell? So I'm like, okay, screw it. And I just blasted the thing. I tried.
Again, I mean, it's totally fine. A game doesn't tell you that there's different endings. I mean, if I didn't spoil it for myself with Undertale, I would have probably murdered everything and not gotten a good ending there, right? But here I definitely like, there was to me not a lot of like, it wasn't even like Undertale, like literally right at the start, they're like, oh, don't kill people, talk your way through, like the frog, right?
Yeah.
It's like, you don't have to kill people, just talk your way through or out of things or whatever he said. Here, I didn't feel like there was anywhere. I think I was reading online, they're like, there's some audio cues here and there, and like people don't even know where all the good and bad decisions are that would allow you.
It's a hidden morality system.
And I was like, I kind of didn't like that and the only reason I actually stumbled across this was I beat the game and I went, what about that dude that I got the cassette tape from? He wanted me to take that somewhere. So I started Googling, like, did I miss something? And actually there was in one of the missions, you're supposed to take it somewhere. And I completely missed it. But then it's like, oh yeah, if you use this ending and this, I'm like, different endings. What the hell is this? And I loaded up my save. I was like, I'll go back and I'll get the good ending because I got the bad ending because, it sounds like everybody gets that unless they know what they're doing. And I apparently didn't do enough good things to even have the option.
Correct.
Because I think there's two different states. There's one where for me, I didn't do enough good things at all. So I don't even get the option to try to do the good ending. But I guess if you do enough good things at the end, that second, when you kind of come back out of that weird world, if you look, there's one of those dark ones laying on the step and you have the option to shoot him or shoot the laser guided thing for the missile. But again, I didn't have that option. And I was like, okay, I'll just go to YouTube and watch the good ending. And it's like, yeah, it had another fun little quote instead of that Orson Welles or whatever quote that you say in the bad ending, but yeah.
Didn't anybody else think it was oh, sorry, go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was just going to say, in this playthrough, I went with the canonical ending, which is the bad ending.
Yeah.
That is the story. When I do know that when I originally played it way back when, I actually got the good ending.
You must have done a lot more exploring, because I felt like
because I didn't have any time pressure or anything. So I'm like, I'm gonna mess around and see what this world actually looks like. Oh, I'm gonna help people. And
I'm wondering if
yeah,
because you have the option when you sneak up behind somebody to, I think, knock them out or kill them.
Yeah, you need to.
And I mean,
there's only one option.
I'm not gonna knock out a Nazi. I mean, who's gonna do that?
Yeah, they're a Nazi.
Right?
No game should ever make that a bad thing for you to do.
But it was like, I wonder if like that was a lot of it. But I mean, one of the people were like, there's this, like, I think even playing when you wake up in your room after the prologue, if you just strum the guitar, I think that's like a good point. It's like, again, the fact that there was not even like a little bit more of a hint for the smart people to recognize this, and it was just like, oh, the end. And then, I go online and it's like, oh, there was a morality system. What the hell is this?
I feel like that was super disguised, more than just hidden. Like, I strummed every guitar that I saw, but like every other door that I had like the option to like push, I got like a, hey, fuck off. And I was like, oh, I'm just, the world hates me. I'm in Barovia. I'm going to just go. Like, that's how I felt. I stopped talking, other than the little kid who had the most unrealistic little kid like reaction to what was happening. You're a stranger and you're gonna take me. We're cool here. I was like, you just watched like these monsters come out of nowhere, and you're the calmest kid I have ever seen.
Right. Oh, my uncle is just sleeping, and then you get up to his mom, and then he's like, yeah, uncle's dead. And it's like, oh, you knew the whole time. Okay.
I was so glad I sprinted past that, because that kid was so annoying. I thought it was kind of a good touch, but I hated it, the fact that you didn't control as well whenever he was on your back. And so I was like, this is really annoying, but it's kind of cool, I guess. But again, I was like, I don't want to deal with this shit. And I just sprinted, pulled out that compass, and I'm like,
I still didn't know there was a compass.
Yeah. The lighter was actually really cool.
I love
much like the Nixie watch. The lighter was like looked like a 50 cal shell.
It's an old,
and you flip it open, and it's pretty cool. I need to find one of those now.
I was kind of confused by the ending of the game, even the canonical ending. So you lob this missile into like the middle of Moscow, right? Supposedly trying to, decimate a bunch of dark ones. Aren't there a bunch of people living underneath there?
So
wouldn't that collapse a few tunnels, a few cities under the metro that you literally just came out of?
The game never says how powerful a missile it is. And if the the target was the old botanical gardens in Moscow, which I have no idea if there's metro tunnels underneath there or not.
They survived nuclear fallout. I feel like they're okay for a guided missile.
Yeah,
that's true. That's
fair. It's just a regular cruise missile, it should be okay.
It was
blowing up like a milk jug full of explosives was enough to collapse it, I guess.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that. Right? That was when I went to find the bomb, I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna find what I'm looking for. And I was like, oh, it's literally a container.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what you use.
Sure.
Plastic container. Just
this game is funny.
It's an interesting game.
This is a really funny game.
But you can wipe your mask.
You can.
Could you?
Yeah. It doesn't really do anything, but you can.
There's certain parts of the game that it matters more than others, but
yeah. When you're outside in the snow and whatever, and it melts on your face, you could.
Yeah.
Oh my god! I fought through so much blood and shit on my mask. I
started to wonder.
That's why I was so pissed off. I was like, "This is the muddiest, crappiest experience ever." Like, get the dude a freaking hanky or something, right? Just go
now,
and keep going. But no, instead I had to go hunt down another mask that I can't see.
Your butt, for me, it was you hold for us it was G. So you hold the button to put it on, and then if it got dirty, you just pressed it once instead of holding it down. He goes like this. Now, do the other thing too, Mike.
I could only interact when I found another one, from what I understood. It was either holding a button to swap out your filter, or picking up and swapping masks. Those are the only 2 interactions that I ever saw you could do.
Maybe it's another Switch feature.
I'm guessing
sure there's a way to wipe your
mask.
If you could do it on the other consoles, I'm sure you could do it in the Switch.
Yeah.
I just never figured it out.
It has to be. No, I mean, I did kind of like, it was annoying, but I didn't mind that if you were getting hit a lot with it on, it damaged the mask. So you did want to go find another one.
Yeah, right up until you lose it and die.
I never. I'm sorry. I was good enough that I didn't have that happen.
Like it was 2 health systems to me, right? Like I didn't die because people were shooting at me. I died because they'd shoot me, my mask would break, and then I'd choke to death. And when it's all screwed up, good luck again. Just like with the mud and the blood, good luck finding a mask sitting on the floor. Like, why can't I just take this Nazi's mask off right here? Just bloop, bloop.
There were times. Oh no, I guess they were just regular dead bodies. I can't.
It was scripted, yeah. It was a scripted grab where you could pull it off of another body.
Mm-hmm.
They fell in such a way that I broke the mask and you couldn't use it.
Yeah, they did just get in combat with you, so you
Mm-hmm.
shot
And you were shooting them.
Yep.
I was going for crotch shots the whole time, so.
This isn't they are not. It didn't matter.
None of your enemies died from bullets. They died from choking to death.
Yeah,
because you broke their gas masks.
It wasn't bullet storm, but this game was bullet sponge. Even the Nazis, you could pump lead heavily into them, and if you weren't scoring headshots, I put a whole magazine into 1 or 2 guys. I was like, well, that's super cool on the AK. The other part is when you're in the tank battles down the strip, when you get saved by those Rangers, you're fighting against the dudes that are sitting up on the rail on the wall where you have to stop. 1, why did dude hit the brakes and slow down? 2, you put so much ammo into those guys with a turret and they don't drop. I just felt like the sponginess of the bad guys was a little too epic as well.
You do bring up a point I actually did want to bring up. Is I felt I noticed it more when fighting those monsters that you typically fought waves of, whatever those are called, the dog looking things, right?
Like not
Watchers.
Nos. Oh, I thought it was
Watchers?
like the Nos. The Nos something.
You see them
Starts
a lot.
with an N.
I would say they're the main
Nostrils
enemy
or
that
something
aren't.
like that. There's
human.
a couple of different ones.
There's a lot of different
Grumpies.
monsters, but I felt those were the ones that you probably one of the only enemies you saw pretty much throughout the whole game. There was times where I was early on, I was oh, I think there was a little bit of color difference between a few of them. I think that's probably just random, material difference between them. Because there was times where it's okay, I was trying to figure out how much ammo do I got to pump into these guys so I'm not wasting ammo, because some of them even had crazy animations where it's okay, are they dead or are they going to come back and try to kill me? But I was early on, I was okay, cool, just 2 shots into them. And this is that scene where you're in that cart and they're chasing you. I'm okay, cool, 2 shots into them and I can move on to the next one. And then one would jump up on the car and I bam, 2 shots, he'd fall down. Another one, while I was shooting that and reloading, another would run up side the car and jump on the side. I'm okay, turn around, bam, 2 shots, and I'd go to turn around and focus back on someone else, and then I'd get hit again. What the hell? So there was times where I was I don't get you, and especially since this is early on, not oh, it's later in the game, of course it's going to take more ammo to kill him, right? Because it gets harder. No, it's just it felt very random. I couldn't.
I think they had a invincibility glitch essentially in the animations. So I found multiple times throughout the game, even with those little rat dog guys that would run around with the holes, 2 shotgun shots would usually kill one if you're right up on it, but there were a few that I had to put all 4 once he had the 4 barrel in. I'd have to put all 4 into him to kill it, and it was 2 separate shots. I think that there was a hit detection, and then it would miss the other one based on it's registering it and doing whatever maybe like a performance issue, or maybe it's just going into an animation to where it no longer takes damage.
Yeah, it did feel like when it was in a certain animation, you weren't going to do anything. You just had to let it act out, and then once it mounts or whatever, you can finally shoot at it.
Not fun.
No, it's not ideal.
Invincibility frames.
And maybe chalk that up as another bug. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
maybe.
I definitely noticed it a few times in those exact same parts. It's like as soon as I did think it probably became second nature, where I'm just like, okay, I'll wait. Up, you're mounted. Bam. Now take it down. Then one shot that guy. Right
again, it was a lot of different parts when I was like those wave based things. There was times where it was like, okay, I'm putting 6 shots in you and you're still not dead. Another one's like, oh, 1 shot.
Yeah.
You know, now granted, you also had other people help shooting, so that could have, you know,
yeah.
But it usually was whenever I had to put more than 3 shots with the Shambler. That's the semi-automatic shotgun. That I was like, something's going on. Something's a little.
But
was it? Hold up. Something ain't right.
I will say the one thing that does bug me about this game is it suffers from something that takes me out of games a lot of the time, where the enemies focus on you. If there's a squad of guys, even if there's someone way closer to them, you're their target.
Yep.
And it's like,
I noticed that too.
That takes me out. Like, I get it. It's a game. It's meant to make you the hero and that kind of stuff. But I want to feel like I'm part of that world, and you just sucked me out because I'm now the only person that's in it.
I hate when games do that.
I abused the hell out of that too. Is that like when they were on me and I had to like reload and stuff, I would literally just sprint around my guys and just let them shoot them while I'm trying to reload or put a gas mask on or both.
Yeah, when you were out by by a truck with Miller and a couple other Rangers, I just kept running around the Rangers and I'm like, guys, help me.
I hate when games do that. There was back when I used to try to play Call of Duties, one of them, I was like, we were storming something and like 8 dudes ran in front of me through this doorway. And then I stepped through and all of a sudden it's like everybody's shooting at me. I'm like, there's 8 other dudes.
Right.
But yeah, no, that was like that was like this game at points. I was like, yeah, I don't know. But no, once I found out that my AI buddies actually did a good bit of damage, I was like, yeah. I would always kind of just do a lot of strafing and moving all while being around them and let them help me out, you know, save some ammo. Yeah. We got anything else? Or we come into the point where we all say how we
how did you guys feel? Yeah, how did you guys how did you guys feel about this game?
So kudos to the smaller studio for getting a game done. That is an achievement in its own. And when you're new and you haven't done some of these things before, you go off it. So I'd be interested to see, did they learn? And maybe Chris can give us an update with a blog or something. Did they learn from what they built in the first place? And that'll change my commentary on it. But I was not a fan. It was really hard to get into and stay into when I was first playing it again because of the muddy view with the handheld. And then it just felt clunky and very forced through the entirety of what I was able to play through. So if you can get it on sale, I'd say go for it. So like if it's still for $5 or whatever on the Epic Store, throw it in the backlog, when you're bored and you want to go kill some mutants and Nazis. Not a lot of games let you do that. So, it's definitely good.
Mutant Nazi game now.
It really is like a poor man's Wolfenstein.
Yeah, right.
You can see that.
Yeah, that's my take on it. Is pick it up if it's on sale. Otherwise, don't.
See, I'd go like, I'll say this. I enjoyed it from the fact that I wanted to play this game for a while, and I mean, it was fun to do it for the podcast. I wouldn't recommend anybody picking up and playing it, and like, I'm actually interested to play Last Light, and then Exodus is out now, right?
Yep.
Like again, kind of to echo what you were saying, Mike, is like, you know, I kind of wish I would have done a little bit more research on the studio beforehand to know it was a little smaller. Not that I'd say like, oh, that's okay that there's these problems in the game, but it would have been like, okay, this makes a little bit more sense, right?
forgiving.
You know,
yeah.
I went into this thinking it was like a AAA studio game, you know, like, okay, like you guys shouldn't have these kind of problems. You put thousands and millions of dollars in this, right? But
They didn't.
you know,
Well,
yeah,
they had a large publisher. I do wonder what the budget of the game was.
yeah. But
I mean,
again, the game, now that I'm in it, I kind of want to play Last Light and Exodus. So maybe my tune will change a little bit more if I ever get around to playing those games and those are better or really good. And then it'll be like, yeah, okay, suffer through the first game. It's only 8 hours, 7, 8 hours of your life, but it sets you up to do this fun stuff in Last Light and Exodus. I don't know. I mean, I know for a fact, like Exodus from, was it 2 years ago? There was
Looks
an
good.
showed at E3. I was like,
yeah,
It looks really good.
yeah, I was like, that looks really fun. But you know, yeah. So I had fun doing it for the podcast, and it was a game I wanted to play for a while, but I wouldn't say pick it up.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you know, I definitely shit on the game a lot. I didn't think it was overall terrible. Like, I didn't think it was a terrible game. I didn't think it was a good game. I just didn't think it was a very meh game.
Yeah, I didn't hate it.
Definitely doesn't age very well. If it was made to try and sell the book, they did a very good job, because now I definitely want to read it just to fill the gaps in what I missed and why those alien things exist and what they are and all the questions the game never answered. But overall, yeah, I think it was okay. It was okay. Definitely wouldn't recommend a full priced buy on it. But yeah, pick it up on a sale or something like that. Throw it in the backlog, kind of like what Mike said. Get around to it when you can. But yes, like you, Matt, I am also interested in playing Last Light and Exodus, because maybe it's kind of like a, you know, like a Borderlands situation where like they vastly, you know, from Borderlands 1 to 2, they vastly improved everything from 1 to 2. So maybe it's the same. I don't know, Chris, you're the one going through it right now. So is it like a vast improvement from 2033 to Last Light?
I'm not deep, but it's incremental. There's definitely some things that are way better. I will say, I just looked it up really quick. The developer got the rights to the game before the book was published.
So it was made to like sell the book.
Yeah, the author had the manuscript on his website, was getting a lot of different offers from a bunch of different studios, and chose 4A games because they were also Eastern European, and he just figured that would work better. Yeah, I mean, I'm now, so I had not played this game since I first played it way back in 2010, and I now am remembering a lot of the flaws I had with the game, but also what the mechanics that really made me love it as kind of one of those, like, not hits, but just kind of cult, just it had that right thing that just worked for me, that I just enjoyed. I'd probably, it would be like a C rating if I had to give it just a generic rating. I would, if you have the time to really sit down and listen to the story, like listen to Artyom during his in between levels, read the notes that fill out the universe, I'd definitely say play it for the story. But no, it's buggy. It's a first time developer. It doesn't work great, and it has its flaws. One thing I figure we should probably start bringing into this after our reviews is because I don't want it to sour what we say. The game was actually fairly well reviewed when it came out.
And that's what I remember.
Averages around in because more people are numeric, about an 8 out of 10 from most publishers.
I would not have given it that.
surprisingly, and this may be where my key influencer was back in the day, Game Informer gave it a 9 out of 10. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's what pushed me to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go play this.
That's home turf right there.
Yep, gotta represent. So, but yeah, if
So-
you want a good story, check it out, especially on sale.
While we were chatting there, I did a little bit of research on the history on this. It sounds like THQ published it, but gave them not a lot of budget. They were working in, at least for Last Light. That's the second one, right? Last Light.
Yeah.
Okay. They were working with like 10% of the budget that a AAA studio usually gets. So itty bitty budget. They did say, however, though, that Exodus is one of the best like FPS style action adventure games to date. So that they've probably picked up a little bit, taken some deep learnings off the first two and really put it into that third one. So if you are interested in playing the third one, maybe jump into the first one and second one, just to get that super confusing background lore.
If I remember correctly, didn't THQ fold right around the same time the second game came out, 2013-ish?
Don't remember.
Was that back when?
I thought that's
think
around
so.
the same time.
Sounds
think
about
you're right.
right.
So that could explain why THQ wasn't throwing money around.
Hmm.
And
It was
now
on
it's
its
all
way
part
out.
Well, now
Um,
Deep Silver's got it, and they're throwing
Yeah. Well,
probably tons
Nordic.
of money at Exodus.
Yeah.
So is Epic. Because this game was a Epic Games exclusive
When did Exodus come out? Was that
like 2 years
2019?
ago.
It's something like
2019?
that. It's fairly recent.
It was part of that whole debacle with the with the
Oh,
Epic
that's
Games exclusives.
right.
Yep,
Mhm.
2019. Yep.
Yeah, I picked
They
up.
were another one of those. I think they were one of the developers that had it ready for Steam, and they
Mhm.
had people pre-order it on Steam, and then
And
they
then they had to-
Poached.
Yeah.
then they yoinked it off of Steam, and then decided to go as an
I
Epic
remember
Games
that.
exclusive. A lot of people were pissed.
I'll be honest, I waited until all the expansion stuff was released and picked it up on sale. So I can't wait to get to it.
I'm looking
Steam
at the
sales coming up.
Mhm.
screenshots for Exodus, and this
It looks
looks
pretty.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
they at least hired some engine people to make a.
So like suffer through
artist.
the first and second one so you can get to the third one.
Mhm. They all
Or
use
just
the same
skip it.
engine, which is shocking.
It is
Yeah,
pretty
or just go to
shocking.
YouTube and watch Metro 2033 story in 5 minutes.
You're
There's
right.
probably one out there. Same with Last Light.
Well,
Cool. Well,
well
if
done,
there-
gentlemen.
If there's nothing left, have a great day or evening, depending on when you're listening to this. Thank you for joining us as usual. Check out what is that, Matt?
Club game.
What?
What's the next book club
We already
game?
said this. We already did this. This is the beginning. Pay attention. Journey is going to be our next game. So, I won't get into that via a roundabout way. I'll just put it right out there, Matt, that our next book club is Journey. Check out our website, campfiregamingpodcast.com, over at Camp Game Pod on Twitter, Campfire Gaming Podcast on Instagram. We've also got a Twitch and a YouTube channel, which you can actually see us talking about these game club book club episodes on YouTube. And with that, we'll see you next time around the campfire.
Blurry hands.